Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. And today we'll be discussing the theory for the chapter biological classification. So this is the part 2 of the lecture. So before starting this lecture, I just want to give you one information that the images, text and other materials are used for education purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners. If you are the owner and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathee@itk.ac.in and we shall remove the content immediately. Please note that parts of the content may have been generated using generative AI, which is experimental. So what we are going to learn in this session? What are the objectives of this session? So today we'll be discussing the kingdom Protista. So we will discuss the characteristic features of the members which belong to the kingdom Protista. Then we'll discuss and we will learn about the habitats, means the area or the environment in which the protist can be found. And we'll also understand the role of protist in the ecosystem and in human life. So protist, again, they are very important. They play a very important role in the ecosystem, especially in the aquatic ecosystem here, and they also play a role in the human life as well. So we will understand how they play a role in human life as well. So we'll talk about the kingdom Protista here. And within Protista, we'll be talking about the chrysophytes. We'll talk about the dinoflagellates. We'll talk about euglenoids, slime molds, and protozoans. So these all come under the kingdom Protista. So let's begin with this lecture. Okay. Now, all single cell eukaryotes are placed under the Protista. But the boundaries of these kingdoms are not well defined. So you can see here all these lines are from the NCERT book. Clear? We are focusing on the NCERT. So the members of Protista, they are unicellular eukaryotes. Unicellular means they are single cell. Okay, they are eukaryotic organisms, means they will have a true nucleus and they will have membrane bound cellular organelles. Here you can see they have written the boundaries of these kingdoms are not well defined. So what does this mean? Okay, so the Protista, we'll talk about this in this session, that Protista includes organisms which are plant-like also, which are animal-like also, and which are fungi-like also. Okay, or fungus-like. Clear? So it forms a link between these groups. Okay, clear? So that's why it is written here, but the boundaries of these kingdoms are not well defined. Because the members which belongs to organism which belong to kingdom Protista, they have features of two different groups. Clear? I will give you some examples and I will explain you this concept. Why they are called animal-like or plant-like or fungus-like. Now, what may be a photosynthetic protistan to one biologist may be a plant to another. So one biologist, okay, he wants to keep a particular organism which is photosynthetic, means it can photosynthesize, it can produce its own food, it is autotrophic. So he wants to place a photosynthetic protistian in Protista, while another biologist he want to keep these photosynthetic protists in the plant category because plants can also photosynthesize. Okay, and this protistian organism, this can also photosynthesize. So what's the difference here? Okay, some of the organisms they contain photosynthetic pigments that are quite similar to the plants also. I'll give you the examples of these organisms also. So that's why kingdom Protista, it doesn't have any boundaries. Boundaries of these kingdoms are not well defined. Okay. Now, in this chapter, we'll talk about chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, and protozoans. And these we'll study about all these organisms under the kingdom Protista. A member of Protista, they are primarily aquatic. Okay, they live in aquatic environment. This is the habitat. They are primarily aquatic. The kingdom forms a link with others dealing with plants, animals, and fungi. So as I've told you earlier, you can see here, the kingdom Protista includes organisms which are plant-like, animal-like, or fungi-like. So that's why they form a link with other groups such as plant, animals, and fungi. Being eukaryote, the protistian cell body contains a well-defined nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. So these are eukaryotic organisms. We were talking about kingdom Monera earlier. Kingdom Monera includes unicellular prokaryotes. And from Protista onwards, from kingdom Protista onwards, all the organisms, they are eukaryotic. So what are the features of a eukaryotic cell? They contain a true nucleus. The nucleus is surrounded by a nuclear membrane. The nucleus consists of the genetic material. And then they also have membrane-bound organelles. Now some have flagella as well as cilia. So these flagella and cilia helps in the locomotion, helps in the movement. It provides motility. Protists reproduce asexually and sexually by the process involving cell fusion and zygote formation. So if we talk about the mode of reproduction in Protista, so they can reproduce both by asexual method and by sexual methods. Okay. So these methods involve cell fusion and zygote formation. So zygote formation is seen in case of sexual reproduction. Zygotes, they are unicellular diploid structure. They are formed during the sexual reproduction. Now let's talk about the chrysophytes now. This group includes diatoms and golden algae, also known as desmids. They are found in freshwater as well as in the marine environments. So we have studied the protists, they are primarily aquatic. And chrysophytes, they can be found in freshwater as well as marine water or marine environment. So this is the habitat where chrysophytes can be found. Okay, now we'll see the diatoms. They are plant-like. They are photosynthetic. They can photosynthesize. They can convert light energy into food. So they are photoautotrophs. Okay, so you can see diatoms can be said to be plant-like. Now they are microscopic and float passively in water currents, means they are plankton. Like in aquatic ecosystem in sea or ocean, phytoplanktons, they are the primary producers. They are the producers. They form the base of the food chain. Okay, or of the ecological pyramid. So diatoms are also the chief producers in the ocean. They are the producers. They can photosynthesize. They produce the biomass on which other organisms are dependent. Okay, so they are microscopic and they float passively in the water currents, means they are plankton. Now, most of them are photosynthetic. They can photosynthesize. They can convert light energy into food. Now, in diatoms, the cell wall forms two thin overlapping shells which fit together as in the soap box. So, what does this mean? So, this means that diatoms. So, diatoms have a unique cell wall which is known as a frustule. And frustule has two components. Okay, epitheca and hypotheca. Epitheca is the upper half, hypotheca is the lower half. Okay. Now, the cell wall of the diatoms, they fit together as in a soap box. So, what does this mean? So, they are two halves and they are overlapping with each other. And they overlap in such a way that they fit together like a soap box. Here you can see this is the image of the diatom. They have a box-like shells that overlap like a soap box. So we're talking about the diatoms. Diatoms, okay, they are included under the chrysophytes. Okay, we were talking about the soap box. Clear? So you can see here, you can see this is the image of the diatom. Diatoms have box-like shells that overlap like the soap box. Okay, so these are the two overlapping regions. Clear? You can clearly see the two regions here. So cell wall consists of two halves. Okay, epitheca and hypotheca. And they overlap with each other. They slide with each other. Okay, so they fit together as a soap box. And the cell wall is made up of silica. That's why they are indestructible. Now, the diatoms have left behind large amount of cell wall deposit in their habitats, and this accumulation over billions of years is referred to as the diatomaceous earth. Okay, so as cell wall contains silica, silica cannot be degraded easily. So as the diatom die, okay, this silica which is present in the cell wall, it keeps on accumulating, and this has accumulated over billions of years, and this is known as diatomaceous earth. So there are various advantages of this diatomaceous earth. Okay, so being gritty, this soil is being used in polishing, in filtration of oil as well as the syrups. So this is the use of this diatomaceous earth. Now, diatoms are the chief producers in the oceans. So as diatoms, they can photosynthesize. That's why they are known as the producers in the ocean. They produce all the biomass on which the consumers they feed. Clear? Now let's talk about the dinoflagellates. These organisms are mostly marine and photosynthetic. Again, they are photosynthetic, but they are mostly marine. So they can also prepare their own food. They are also autotrophic. Now they appear yellow, green, brown, blue or red depending on the main pigments present in their cells. Okay, so there can be various colors of dinoflagellates depending on the pigments which are present in their cells. So I'll show you the image of the dinoflagellates. Now the cell wall has stiff cellulose plates on their outer surface. So this is the characteristic feature of a dinoflagellate. The cell wall has cellulosic plate. In case of diatom, cell wall had silica. But in case of dinoflagellate, cell wall has stiff cellulose plate. So this cellulose plate, obviously they are made up of cellulose. And they provide rigidity to the cell wall. Okay, this is an image of the dinoflagellate. Okay, dinoflagellate also have these flagella. Okay, Now, most of them have two flagella. One lies longitudinally. Longitudinally means lengthwise. And the other transversely in a furrow between the wall plates. Okay, so one of the flagella is lengthwise and the other is transversely present in the furrow. Okay, or you can say a groove which is between the cell wall plates. Clear? Now, very often red dinoflagellate known as the gonilogs. So this is again very important. Gonilogs, this is known as the red dinoflagellate. This undergo rapid multiplication such that they make the sea appear red, which is known as red tides. So gonilogs, this secretes a red color toxin. Okay, and this red color toxin makes the sea appear red. And that's why the name is given red tides. So because of the secretion of this toxin by gonilogs, the aquatic life is also in danger. So it can kill a lot of fishes also. Now, toxin released by such large numbers may even kill other marine animals such as fishes. Let's talk about the euglenoids now. So euglenoids, they are very interesting. Example is euglena. So what are the characteristic features of the euglenoids? So majority of them are freshwater organisms and they are found in the stagnant water. Now instead of the cell wall, they have a protein-rich layer called pellicle which makes their body flexible. So you can see here, this is a characteristic feature of the euglenoids. So instead of the cell wall, they have a protein-rich pellicle. And because of this protein-rich pellicle, their body is very flexible. They have two flagella, a short and a long one. Now, this is again very important. So though they are photosynthetic in presence of the sunlight, when deprived of sunlight, they behave like heterotroph by predating on other smaller organisms. So you can see here, euglenoids, they are a link between plants and animals. So in the presence of sunlight, they become autotrophic. They can photosynthesize. They can prepare their own food. But in the absence of the sunlight, become heterotrophic. Means they obtain nutrients from the other organism. They are dependent on other organisms for nutrition. So they feed on the smaller organisms. So you can see here, photosynthesis is the property of the plants. And animals are usually heterotrophs. So they have the features of both plants and animals. So they are forming a link between plants and animals, you can say. So this is a very interesting feature of the euglenoids. Interestingly, the pigments of euglenoids are identical to those present in higher plants. Okay. So again, this is also very interesting. Euglenoids, they can photosynthesize and they have the pigments that are very identical to those present in higher plants. So again, you can say they are plant-like also. Clear? And usually in plants, the cell wall is made up of cellulose. But here the cell wall is made up of pellicle. Okay. So this is not a feature of plants. But they have pigments which are present in higher plants. This is the feature of the plants. So they are forming a link between plant and animals, you can say. Example is euglena. So this is the image of euglena. They have two flagella. One is short, another one is, okay, this is short, this is long flagella. Let's talk about the slime molds. Now, I have already told you the protist or the kingdom protista include members which are plant-like. We have already discussed this, plant-like. There are organisms which are fungus-like also. So slime molds, they are fungus-like. Now, one of the features of fungus is that they are saprophytes. And what are saprophytes? Which feed on dead and decaying organic matter. Okay, so slime molds, these are also saprophytes. Okay. Slime molds are saprophytic protists, means they feed on dead and decaying organic matter. Now the body moves along decaying twigs and leaves engulfing organic material. Yeah, so their body is moving along decaying twigs and leaves, clear, and they engulf the organic matter. So they are feeding on the organic matter, dead and decayed organic matter. Now, under suitable conditions, they form an aggregation called plasmodium, which may grow and spread over several feet. Okay, so in suitable conditions, when the conditions are quite optimum, then they form plasmodium. What is plasmodium? This is the aggregation of the cells, and a plasmodium is formed. This plasmodium can grow and it can spread over several feet. So several feet. So plasmodium is usually formed in the suitable conditions, but what happens in the unfavorable conditions? The plasmodium differentiate and forms a fruiting body. Okay, and bearing spores at their tips. So spores are produced in the unfavorable conditions. So this is a kind of survival strategy, because these spores, they can survive for many years in adverse conditions. And whenever the suitable conditions reappear, and whenever the favorable conditions appear, then again these spores can grow and it can form the entire organism. So these spores possess true walls, and they are extremely resistant and survived for many years even under adverse conditions. So why the spores are produced? Spores are produced in unfavorable conditions, and these spores are produced as a kind of survival mechanism, because the spore can survive for many years in adverse conditions. The spores are dispersed by air currents. Okay, remember this, how these spores are dispersed? These spores are dispersed by air currents. You can see this is the image of the slime mold here. The plasmodium, it can grow and it can spread to several feet. Let's talk about the protozoans now. Now, I've already told you the members of the kingdom Protista are animal-like also. So protozoans, they are animal-like. Animals, they are heterotrophic. Protozoans, they are also heterotrophic. All protozoans are heterotrophs and live as predators or parasites. Okay, means they absorb nutrients from the host. They are dependent on the host. So in predatory or parasitic interaction, what happens? One of the partner is benefited. The predator or the parasite is benefited, and the host is negatively impacted. Now they are believed to be primitive relative of the animals. Okay, because both of them, protozoans and animals, both of them are heterotrophs. So that's why they are believed to be primitive relatives of the animals. Now there are four major groups of protozoans. Let's talk about these four major groups. First one is the amoeboid protozoans. So these organisms live in fresh water, seawater, or moist soil. Now they move and capture their prey by putting out pseudopodia, which are known as the false feet, as in amoeba. So in amoeba, what happens? It is an amoeboid protozoans. It can form pseudopodia. Okay, pseudopodia, they are the false feet, and by forming pseudopodia, it can engulf the you can say any other organism, any other smaller organism, or the food particle, or the prey, you can say. Now marine forms have silica shells on their surface. Now some of them, such as ant amoeba, are parasites. So ant amoeba histolytica, this is an amoeboid protozoan. It is a parasite and it causes a disease known as amoebic dysentery. Let's talk about the flagellated protozoans. The members of these groups are either free living or parasitic. They have flagella. The parasitic form cause diseases such as sleeping sickness. Okay, so they are pathogenic also. What are pathogens? Organisms which cause disease, they are known as pathogens. So they cause the disease called sleeping sickness, and sleeping sickness is caused by the pathogen trypanosoma. Trypanosoma is a flagellated protozoans, and they have flagella. Now, ciliated protozoans, obviously ciliated protozoans will have cilia. The example is paramecium. So these are aquatic. They are actively moving organisms because of the presence of thousands of cilia. So what is the function of the cilia? They help in the locomotion also, and they help in the feeding also. So amoeba, you can say, feeds through the movement of the cilia also. So ciliated protozoans, they have a cavity known as a gullet that opens to the outside of the cell surface. Clear? So gullet is a cavity which is opening to the outside of the cell surface. Now what happens? What is the function of this gullet? Now, due to the coordinated movement of the rows of cilia, okay, due to the coordinated movement of the rows of cilia, the water laden with food, it is stirred into the gullet. Okay, so there is a movement of the cilia. Due to movement of the cilia, what happens? The water which consists of the food, it enters into the gullet. So it helps in feeding, you can say. Example is paramecium. Let's have a look at the image of the paramecium. So you can see this is the paramecium and this is the cilia. Okay, thousands of cilia are present around the paramecium. So it is a ciliated protozoan. The next one is sporozoan. So this includes diverse organisms that have an infectious spore-like stage in their life cycle. The most notorious is Plasmodium, which is a malarial parasite which causes malaria, a disease which has a staggering effect on the human population. So Plasmodium is a sporozoan and it causes a disease known as malaria. Now there are different species of malaria, different species of Plasmodium, okay, such as Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malaria, and Plasmodium falciparum. So Plasmodium causes malaria. So this is a pathogen. And this Plasmodium is spread through female Anopheles mosquito. So female Anopheles mosquito is a vector for the Plasmodium. Okay. So this Plasmodium has a very complex life cycle. And it requires two hosts to complete its life cycle. One of the hosts is human, another one host is the female Anopheles mosquito. The female Anopheles mosquito acts as a both vector as well as the host. So you can see the members of the kingdom Protista can cause a lot of diseases in humans. Now let's summarize the entire lecture. So we were talking about the kingdom Protista here. So what are the features of the kingdom Protista? So they are unicellular, means they are single celled. They are eukaryotic organisms, means they will have a true nucleus. They will have membrane bound organelles. They are plant like, animal like, or fungus like. So they are plant like diatoms. Okay. They are autotrophic, like plants are also autotrophic. They contain like chlorophyll pigments as well as other pigments which help in the photosynthesis. Okay, they are photosynthetic, for example, diatoms. Then, okay, they are animal-like also, like protozoans. Protozoans, they are heterotrophic. Animals are also heterotrophic. Clear? They are mobile. Animals are also mobile. Example is amoeba and paramecium. Then they are fungus-like also. So slime molds, they are fungus-like. Slime molds are saprophytic. Fungus are also saprophytic. Okay. So if we talk about heterotroph has two categories, parasitic or saprophytic. Clear? So fungi, they are saprophytic. Fungi can be parasitic also. And here it is written absorptive, means it absorbs the nutrients from the decomposed organic matter. Clear? So Chlamydomonas and chlorella, these are also eukaryotes. These are also included under the kingdom Protista. Okay, so these are considered under algae also. Clear? So you can see the members of Protista can be plant-like, animal-like, and fungus-like also. So it is forming a link with the other groups such as fungi, plants, and animals. And Euglena, we have talked about Euglena also. Euglena has certain features of plants and animals. It can photosynthesize in the presence of light, and it becomes heterotrophic in the absence of the light. Now, what are the key features? They have membrane bound nucleus and organelles because they are eukaryotes. They have flagella, okay, or they have cilia for the movement. No, they are mostly aquatic, and they can reproduce by both asexual and sexual reproduction. Examples: some of the common species are amoeba, paramecium, euglena, chlamydomonas, and chlorella. They can cause disease also. So they can cause disease like amoebic dysentery, which is caused by Entamoeba histolytica, and they can also cause malaria, which is caused by the Plasmodium, which is a sporozoan. Okay, so this was the end of this lecture. Now we'll start with the DPP. What is the first question? Which of the following proteins is responsible for causing red tides? Okay, you have to name a protist which is responsible for causing red tides. So red tides, they are caused due to what? They are caused due to, okay, a member of a protist which release red toxins in the environment. So these red toxins make the sea red in color. The red toxin is produced by which organism? Your options are Euglena, Gonilox, Plasmodium, and Paramecium. So what will be the correct answer? Okay, the correct answer will be Gonilox. Okay, Gonilox is an organism which release red toxins, and due to the release of the red toxins, what happens? The sea becomes red. Okay, and this is known as the red tides. Okay, so answer will be option number B here, Gonilox. Plasmodium causes malaria. Okay, Euglena, we have talked about Euglena also. It is these come under euglenoids. Paramecium, this is a ciliated protozoan. Now let's discuss this question. Cell walls of diatoms are embedded with which material? Okay, so diatoms, they are photosynthetic, and the cell wall is quite unique, which is known as frustule. The frustule has two components, epitheca and hypotheca. Epitheca is the upper part, hypotheca is the lower part or the lower half, and these two halves, they overlap with each other. Okay, they slide with over each other, and they fit like a soap box. Okay, so what are the options? Cell wall of diatom, they are made up of cellulose, silica, chitin, or pectin. Okay, so diatoms, they form diatomaceous earth. Okay, here the correct answer will be option number B, silica. So diatoms, cell wall of the diatoms contains silica. Clear? So that's why diatoms, the cell wall of the diatom, they are indestructible, because it is not easy to degrade or decompose silica. So whenever the diatoms die, the cell wall which consists of silica, they accumulate. and they have accumulated over billions of years, and they have formed diatomaceous earth. So this diatomaceous earth, being very gritty, they are used for polishing and for filtration of oils and the syrups. The correct answer here is silica. The next question, which protists exhibit both autotrophic and heterotrophic mode of nutrition? Okay. So which protist can do photosynthesis? Okay, what are autotrophs? Auto means self. They can prepare their own food. So which protists exhibit autotrophic mode of nutrition also, as well as heterotrophic mode of nutrition? What are heterotrophic mode of nutrition? Okay, where the organisms are dependent on other organisms for nutrition, or it obtain nutrition from other organisms. So what are the options? Option number A is slime mold, B is euglenoid, C is dinoflagellates, and C is dinoflagellate, D is amoeboid protozoans. What will be the correct answer? Okay, here the correct answer will be option number B here, euglenoids. Okay, like euglena. Euglena can photosynthesize in the presence of the light, and in the absence of the light, it becomes heterotrophic. So it feeds on the smaller organisms. Now let's discuss this question. Spores of slime molds are dispersed by. So when are these spores formed? These spores are formed in the unfavorable conditions. So Plasmodium, it differentiates and it forms the spores. This is a kind of survival strategy. Okay, these spores, they have true walls. They can survive in adverse conditions. So what will be the answer here? Option number A is water current, B is air current, C is insects, or D is animals. The answer will be option number A, B, C, or D. So the answer here will be air current. Option number B is the correct answer. Now let's discuss this question. Which protozoan group includes Plasmodium, the malarial parasite? So Plasmodium, this causes malaria. There are different species of Plasmodium: Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum, and Plasmodium malaria. And this Plasmodium, the life cycle of Plasmodium is quite complex. It have two hosts, human host and the female Anopheles mosquito. Okay. So this Plasmodium is which kind of protozoans? So there were four categories of four groups of the protozoans. To which group does Plasmodium belong? What are the options? Flagellated protozoans, B ciliated protozoans, C is sporozoans, and D is amoeboid protozoans. Okay, so what will be the answer? So we have a common answer. Common answer here is option number C, sporozoans is the correct answer. Clear? So Plasmodium comes under the group sporozoans. Clear? So this was the end of the DPP. So we have covered the theory also, and we have discussed the DPP also. Okay, let's submit it. So all our answers are correct. Clear? So in the next session, we'll be talking about the kingdom fungi. I hope this session was quite knowledgeable for you. Okay, hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you very much for listening.